Hey, if you came across this video, then this means that you are interested in our client intake forms. So let's get started. Number one, let's just say that these intake and consent forms are very important to your business. Number one, not only does it allow you to get all the information you need about your future resident, it also helps protect your business with the waiver of liability forms and things like that. This is a 24-page packet that I have. It is important that each client fills out this package. Why? Because you don't need a Jane Doe or a John Doe living in your house. If you're operating any type of room and housing, even if you're just renting out simple rooms for extra money, or you're doing transitional housing, supportive housing, sober living housing, group home, any type of residential housing that you have, each client needs to be accounted for. You need to be able to go back to this client's file and pull up any individual you need, whether it's emergency contact or whether some things has changed in the individual's employment, or disability, mental disability or physical disability. So let's get started. Page one, we just get the client's basic demographics. So name, current mailing address. How did you hear about us? That's a really good marketing tactic, so you can know where your individuals are coming from, whether they were referred from an individual, whether they was referred from actual program. Move-in date. This is very important. I didn't have clients that have been with me for about 2 years. I will forget the day that they moved in, but I'm able to always go back to this paperwork to reference that. Move out date. So again, this paperwork is very important, so that way you're able to come back and notate these changes. Second form, additional information. Depending on what type of program you're going to actually run, it's important to know if these individuals have a birth certificate, a social security card, a photo ID, or a medical insurance card. Example, if you are operating any type of sober living, it's very important to know if they have all these important documentations if you're going to help them with supportive services such as finding employment or expungement services or things of that nature. If you're just simply renting out a basic room, you may not need to see their birth certificate, more so their photocopy, a copy of their ID or their social security card. Housing information. Is this individual currently homeless? Where is their current address? Who are they currently paying rent to? Have they ever lived in any type of shared housing before? Do they require any special accommodations? Special accommodations could be a wide variety of things. Let's just say an individual is allergic to Lysol bleach or something, right? And you may find them as a good fit for your housing program and want to move them in. However, that is one thing that is a special accommodation. So that may be something you may not primarily keep in the house or on that residence level, however the house is set up. Another special accommodation could be, let's just say, stairs. Let's say an individual has a prosthetic leg and they need a room that's on a lower level instead of an upper level where they have to utilize steps. So different things like that will fall under that question if they require any special accommodations. It's very important to know where this client is coming from. Are they coming from a homeless shelter? Are they coming from a treatment program where they may be a year clean or so? Are they coming from an individual's couch? Are they coming from their own place but fell behind on payments or getting evicted? These are important things to know. Health information. Do they currently have any health insurance? Again, if you're doing any type of sober living, transitional housing, where you may possibly be providing some type of care or treatment, then you need to know if they have medical health insurance. If so, do they have any physical health conditions? Like I mentioned earlier about the prosthetic leg, that's something to think about. These are just different scenarios I will give you throughout this video so that way you can understand why this information is important. Because if you're going to be accepting individuals from all walks of life, they're going to have different situations. Do they have any mental health issues? This is very important. If you're going to do transitional housing, you want to know if this individual has ever been diagnosed with any bipolar or schizophrenic. Let's just say they're bipolar, but you spoke with their caseworker, and this individual does a great job at maintaining their medication management. Now, let's just say we have another individual who's schizo, depression, anxiety, PTSD, and they do not take their medication daily. So, for example, that individual may need medication reminders. Do you have somebody on staff that will provide that? Yes or no? That's a great question to ask yourself as a business owner and as a housing provider. Um, Please list any current medications. They need to list any medications that they're taking so that way you're fully aware. Do they have any allergies? This is really important. Like I mentioned earlier, bleach, Lysol, different things like that that may be around the house. Have you ever experienced any substance abuse? Again, if you're doing sober living, what are your requirements? Let's set some rules here. Do you require individuals to be at least 8 to 10 months clean, 1 to 2 years clean? This is something that you have to ask yourself as a housing provider. What are you going to allow? And if they did ever experience substance abuse, one of the questions you see here is, what was your choice of drug? Did you inject any type of drugs? And when was the last time you used? This is important information so that way you can always go back to this. TB screening and risk assessment. It's important to know if your client has any TB disease, are they HIV infected, any history of injection drug use, are they currently on any methadone or take any medication for prior substance abuse. Financial information. What is your source of income? You need to know if this resident is going to be paying you self pay or private pay, which will be considered primarily their employment income. General public assistance. Some individuals may receive housing vouchers, or they may receive temporary funding from an agency or organization that may take care of their first or second month's rent, whatever their requirements are. Do this individual receive Social Security disability insurance? Do they receive SSI? Do they currently receive any food stamps, any unemployment, any pensions, any veteran benefits? And what is their monthly income? Do they have any bank accounts? Have you ever filed for bankruptcy? Please list any debts that you owe. Second page to financial information. Is the agency providing housing funding on your behalf? Yes or no? Also, here's a tip. If an individual receives SSI or SSDI, if they currently have a payee, that's important for you to know. A lot of times the individual will be their own payee, meaning they are responsible for handling their financial funds. Secondly, a family member may be in control of their finances and may be their payee. Thirdly, you are able to, if you require it, you can set you and your business up as that individual's payee. So that way you're responsible for their income. Let's just say, for example, an individual gets SSI or SSDI benefits once a month and they receive $1,000 a month. If you charge them $700 for a room, then once you receive their SSI benefits, you can take out the 700 for your residential housing fee, and you can give that individual the $400 remaining from their check. I'm sorry, $300. $300. Give them the rest of their money from their check, so that way they can have it for any specialty needs, any cigarettes, any specialty food outside of food stamps, any clothing, anything that they need. Next page, we're going to employment information. It is okay if residents pay you out of their employment. If you feel like you do not want to accept residents that pay you out of their employment, that is absolutely fine, but just know that you could be leaving money on the table. A lot of people are afraid to accept residents who pay through their employment. What you can do is set them up on auto pay. Okay? So let's just get that employment information. The next page is education information. What is your highest level of education? If you're going to do a transitional housing and you're helping them with supportive services such as case management, then it's very important to know, do they have a GED? Do they have difficulty reading or writing? So that way you know where you can meet the client where they are. Legal history. Have you ever been arrested? Are you currently on parole or probation? Have you ever been incarcerated? Do you have any pending charges? This is very important. I'll give you a prime example for me. I had a gentleman at my property. He went MIA about 2 to 3 days. Couldn't find him. Come to find out, he was arrested. Yes, I knew that he was on probation due to his paperwork. Got into some trouble. He got arrested. I was able to go to this paperwork that I'm showing you today and pull up his emergency contact. Two of his good friends came and packed up the items in his room and they took them with them. So you see why this information is very important, right? Next page, you have your waiver of liability, personal property, physical injuries, services rendered, health status. You are not responsible for anything that happens in the house to the individual, falls any personal property been taken or been at risk. Emergency contact forms. It's very important that you have emergency contacts on these individuals in case of death, anything that could happen. We have to be realistic here. This is not a service where we're providing a service, and I'm sorry, this is not a business where we're providing a service and the individual is just leaving and we'll see them again 2 weeks later. No, this individual actually lives in the property that you're operating. So it's very important. And then list two professional references. Grievance policy. Grievance policy states that every effort to resolve any individual client's grievance will be made. So what this means is that whoever your staff is, your residents have a right to be able to put in a grievance policy, voice their opinions, their concerns, if they feel like they are being mistreated or discriminated any way by any of your staff that you have on board, including yourself as being a housing provider, meaning that he or she can request a hearing for you so that way they're able to disclose to you maybe it could be abuse, neglect, or whatever they're experiencing in the house from that actual housing manager, whoever your staff is. Next form is immediate termination of waiver forms. This is very important. What this does is that if an individual disobeys any of your house rules, bringing drugs, bringing alcohol, bringing guests into the home, any rules that you have, they're disobeying it, you're able to have them immediately terminated. Okay. Now, disclaimer, let me throw in there. This is not a landlord tenant type of thing. This is for my people I'm only talking to who are not just renting rooms, who's actually operating a highly structured program in the house, right? What happens is that you are not their landlord. They are not your residents. You are a housing provider operating a transitional housing program, an independent living housing program, or a sober living housing program. They are your clients. They're your clients. They are not your tenants. So be very specific with your wordplay because you are not their landlord and they are not your tenants. They are your clients. So this will be discharging them from your housing program. Okay. Next, we have confidentiality of alcohol and drug abuse patients. I get clients who are coming from treatment programs who may have graduated and be a year clean. So I may enroll them into different programs or different groups. So this allows me to have their personal information, such as social security number, award letter if they get SSI or different things like that. This is confidentiality of that information. So that way our clients' information are not being exposed. Letter of receipt. This is to inform individuals that any fees that they pay to your housing program, there are absolutely no refunds. This is one of my housing rules. This is a form you may want to take out because you may give an individual their money back if something happens. Then you could take this form out or you could just rearrange the wording. Me specifically, I do not do any refunds. Residential fee contract. Okay, let's go. People always say, okay, a lease, a lease, a lease. I necessarily don't do an actual lease because it's a program, but I do a residential fee contract. Again, you can adjust this page to your liking. However, for me, I would fill out this form and I would say, I, Jane Doe, agree to pay a $300 initial entrance fee and a $300 bi-weekly residential fee to New Habit Transitional Housing. You'll add your business name there, for example. And that's if an individual is paying $600 a month or paying $300 biweekly. So instead of using words like security deposit, you can use words like you can use words like um entry fee, which is a one-time fee. It's just like a security deposit, but we don't identify it as that. You can identify it as an entry fee or a community fee. And then they can choose whether they want to pay monthly, weekly, or biweekly. And one thing that I have in my clause is that if they're late on their payment after 5 days, then I do add on a late fee. However, your late fee may be 3%, mine is 5%. You can set up this rule however you may like it because that's your housing rule. Search and hygiene agreement. If I have any individuals that's coming from any type of treatment program and they're a couple months clean, I do a search and hygiene agreement to make sure they're not bringing any drugs or any dangerous weapons inside of the home. This is important to check their belongings depending on where they're coming from. Now, if you're just running a basic, simple room, you may not search do a search and hygiene agreement. But if you're running a type of housing program, then you want to conduct a search and hygiene agreement. Release and exchange of confidential information. I sign all of my clients up for mental health therapy or PRP services. So this forms allow me to get their consent to be able to give that therapist their first and last name, the last four of their social, their date of birth, their phone number. This allows me to do that because this individual signed a release and exchange of confidential information form. Okay, goals form. Again, if you're just renting a basic room, then you may not need to know what the client's goals are. You may not care, and that's okay because your business is structured simply to room and housing, right? But if you're running any type of housing program, then it's very important to know individuals' goals, to know how they can become self-sufficient, to know whether they want to stay at your housing program short term or long term, if their goals are to purchase a car, if their goal is to move into their own independent living, if their goal is to get a trade and get a skill in CNAG and HVACs, whatever their goals are. So they will list their three goals for the next 3 to 6 months, which 9 times out of 10 is a short term goal, or they would list, I'm not sorry, or not or, but next, they will list their goal in the next 24 months. So that way you're able to help these individuals meet their goals. If you're going to provide supportive services or work with agencies or organizations who's going to provide supportive services to these individuals, then it's very important that you know what their goals are so that way your program can help them get to that next step. Consent forms. I agree to allow your business name and their designated agent to verify the information on the application by interviewing my references. Representatives of the agencies verify my income and accept information, obtaining my rental history and other information provided. This consent form is very important so that when you're getting individuals consent, so later on when something happens, they can say I didn't do that, and you're able to pull up this form with their printer name and their signature and the date. A key entry form. When I first started in 2019, I still had physical keys, so traditional, right? Now I do have the electronic keypad on each door. It's just very important. Each individual can have their own they can have their own code. Or if you're still going to do the traditional key, that's absolutely fine. I just have this key form because it's very important so that way they know that to never loan, borrow, or exchange any keys with any other residents or nobody else or a friend or family member. They don't need to be given the key or their security code to anybody in no way, shape, or form. House rules. These are some of my house rules. No eating in the rooms, no personal items left on the first floor, no loud music. Laundry days, I like to only do Sundays and Mondays just to keep the utility costs down for myself. No guests allowed, no firearms, no dangerous weapons. All rooms must be clean. Now, let's just say, for example, you say, okay, you don't mind your residents having guests. Let's just say between the hours of 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. Then that's absolutely fine. For number 17, you'll just remove where it says no guest allowed in the home, and then you'll replace it with that specific house rule that you have. And the last form is acknowledgement of receipt and house rules. The purpose of this form is to acknowledge my receipt and understanding the house rules. They have been explained to me and I agree to comply. This is page 24 of the packet, and that is it. Again, this packet is very important. It's very tedious. You can take out any information, you can add any information, but at least this already gives you the blueprint to have this part of your business done, especially if you're just getting started. Okay. And you can have individuals fill this form out. Um, they can fill this form out digitally, or you can print some packets of it. Me personally, a lot of older individuals who are not really tech savvy, like individuals that may be like 50 and over, um, the digital is just really not going to work for them. I learned this a lot. So I just always keep out printed copies of all these forms so that way when the individuals is coming, they can fill it out. So in a folder, you want to have, for example, look, I already got a folder. For example, you want to have Each file with each client name on there. In that file should be a copy of their ID, their social security card. If they work, you should have some copies of their pay stubs. If they receive SSI, SSDI, any fixed income, you should have proof of that. A copy of their award letter or budget letter should be in here. If their list of medications should be in here, just in case, because the population that we're dealing with, let's just say a client may overdose. Let's just say a client may have a manic episode or something happens. You want to be able to always go back to these files and refer to something that happened. So this is very important. And when you do have these files, it's very important that you have a lockbox. You don't want any other residents getting anybody else's personal information. So whether you're going to have you a small office space at the property, have you a lockbox with a key to it with all of your files in there. If your office is off-site, that's fine. Still have you a lockbox with a key. So that way all clients' information is being 100% protected. And that is it far as the intake form. This is pretty much it. I have these templates on sale on my website. If you want to purchase these templates, you have two options, right? The first option is you purchase these templates, you go through each page and you add your business name to the header. Because the way that I send it out is going to be in Microsoft Word, so that way you can edit it. You're going to add your business name to the header, and you have to go through each page 1 through 24, and you're going to add your business name where it tells you to do so. Okay, that's your option one. Your option two, if you would like for us to add your business name on each form, each page, 1 through 24, add your logo on here, add in some house rules, add in some additional pages, or take out some additional pages, then you have that option to do that as well. Okay? It just all depends on you and your time management, whether you're tech savvy and whether you have the time to do it. If you have the time to do it, then you can pretty much get it done yourself. Secondly, if you pretty much don't have that much time management and you're trying to get the ball rolling as soon as possible, we can have this packet done for you. We would just need your business name, your business logo. Make sure you're okay with all of the house rules and everything. And let's just say if your business is not open yet, but you're on the way, so you may not know specifically if you would like to change some house rules or not. That's absolutely fine. We can just still add your business name on each 24 pages. We can add your logo. We can change the color. Just make it primarily to you, likened to you and your business. So once we do that, we can still send it to you in Microsoft Word, and we can send it to you in PDF. So that way you have both versions in Microsoft Word. That way later on, you're still able to go back and adjust some house rules as needed. So those are your two options. Again, this is a 24-page intake packet that's on my website. And good luck to you.